is Kuria KE. You can also call in live. I'll be happy, to sample your feedback, your questions, your comments in regard to the conversation that we'll be having with Crystal, who is with me in studio. Crystal, I want us to start by you just singing that part again.
Okay. Wakaja na umati, wakageuka kuwa wafuasi. Wakaja na majini, wakapata tushazama kwa dini. Nyele za kifarasi, lakini sini moto ya makiasi. Risasi mwendo kasi, dandieni msiwachwe na basi.
Wow, I'd have loved to join in, but I think I'd have ruined it. You have such an awesome, powerful voice, Crystal.
Thank you so much.
Great. So it's great to have you with us today. I want you to start by just telling us, who is Crystal Asige?
Crystal Asige is a singer-songwriter, a producer, a VIP ambassador. VIP means visually impaired persons ambassador. I am also a YouTuber. I am also a speaker. And I'm actually about to start a show soon, hopefully on TV as well, my own show.
Wow, that would be great.
Yeah.
I'll watch out for it. Before we get to the part where you tell us about yourself, if we could just fall back to the, the music we played, just the Extravaganza. How was it, as part of our soul generation?
Yes.
How was it, singing with Sauti Soul? How was the whole experience?
The whole experience was amazing. I actually met Sauti Soul over 10 years ago when they were first starting out. But obviously, I guess at that time, they were busy, looking out for their own careers and stuff, and so the support wasn't really there. It wasn't. They couldn't help me in the way that they can right now with the platform that they have. So that was over 10 years ago, and we sort of, went our own ways. I was doing my own thing in university. I went to study etc. And then we got back in touch about 2 years ago with BN. He was looking for songwriters. I didn't know why, but he's looking for songwriters. Then a mutual friend reconnected us and said, "There's a girl called Crystal Asige. She's from Mombasa. She's like a really good songwriter." And so from there we just met up, started jamming in studio, and that's when I met the other guys from Soul Generation, Viri, Ben Soul, and Kaskazini, the group. And so far it's been really good. I feel that there's a real family feeling between everyone. Me as the only woman, sometimes I've got to fight for my space. I'm just like, guys, listen to me. I've got something to say, and they're all just like, But I think it's amazing to have people who are creative. They're not just musicians and songwriters, but they're also like amazing thinkers. The conversation that we have together when we're sitting around jamming over lunch or on the weekends, it's really stimulating. And for me, that means a lot. When you're able to sit with people who are like-minded and also super talented and humble as well, very humble people.
Sure. Okay, we'll be getting to the music part, because this is not your debut in music, right?
Yes.
You have so many songs, your own, Crystal. But I now want to know who, okay, I've already asked who is Crystal, yes. But growing up, how was it like?
Growing up was great. I had a great childhood. I'm the last born of 4, so I've always been taken care of. And always get my way. Not always, but yeah. So
last ones do that a lot.
But Mombasa, amazing environment to live in, basically to grow up in. It's small. It's everyone is close and stuff. So I felt like it was a really good upbringing, and I started singing. Well, my mom tells me that I started singing when I was like 3.
Whoa.
I used to come up from nursery school, and instead of telling her about the bullies that bullied me that day, I'd come and sing it to her. I'd make a song about it and sing it to her so that I wouldn't cry.
Do you remember one of the
songs? I don't remember one of the songs. I'm sure she would. She has everything like in her memory.
Had her on board. We knew that.
So that's when I started singing, and then after that, I used to love writing poetry. So in school, I did a lot of poetry, recitals, writing. I remember this one time there was a competition, and I had 3 poems that I wanted to enter, but I couldn't choose which one. So I gave 2 to my friends, and I paid them 500 shillings each to enter as my poems for me. And then one of them ended up winning, and I didn't win my own.
Whoa.
So I was like, man, I paid you, and then you won with my poem. So yeah, my entrepreneurship days started early
I was
as well.
about to say that. Your entrepreneurs, skill started from right back,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Crystal, something did happen at the age of about 15 or 16, right? Take us through that.
So around 15, 16, I started to realize that my eyes were a little bit funny. I wasn't able to read the blackboard from the back of the room where my desk was. When I was on stage doing poetry or drama, recitals and shows, I wasn't able to like read my scripts properly. And when I did sports or anything, basically, sometimes, you know, things would be foggy at some point, but then they'll be clear for the rest of the time. So I was like, this is unusual. But at the time, you know, I'm a kid. I'm busy trying to just, you know, do the whole adolescence thing.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really paying much attention to it. And then I also thought my parents wear glasses. So I just thought maybe it's just, I need glasses to read. So I got them from the opticians in Mombasa, and they helped me for a while, which was fine. And then it's only when I went to university is when I went for another general checkup at the optician, and they told me, Crystal, we don't mean to alarm you, but you need to go to the eye hospital right now. Stop every single thing that you're doing today and go to the eye hospital, not another opticians, because opticians deal with the front of the eye and optometrists deal with the back of the eye. So go to the hospital and get yourself checked because your pressures are super high.
Yeah.
They were around 40 and the normal pressures are between 10 and 15.
Whoa.
So I was over triple the
Yes,
amount. Yeah.
yes, yes.
So that was unknowingly, that had been happening since when I was, you know, a teenager until up to university. So slowly, glaucoma, what happens with glaucoma is that it eats away the pressure in your eyes. When it's really high, it eats away at your retina. And the retina is what gives you sight. It's what lets a light go into your eyes and like allows you to see this is a chair, this is the floor, etc., etc. So I didn't know that was happening. And glaucoma has no symptoms. It doesn't hurt. There's no redness. There's no pain. There's no discomfort. So that's why it sort of came as a shock to me. I was like, oh, okay, this is happening. So yeah, that's sort of how it's all started with glaucoma.
Okay, so I still want to, you know, remain on that beat.
Yeah.
So what happens next? Your first experience of, you know, not being able to see, not being able to do the things that you were used to.
Yeah.
How was it?
So in university, as you can imagine, everyone is young and, you know, first years, everyone is excited about being in uni, etc. So I didn't really have anyone to maybe speak to about it or express myself or try to find solace through, because everyone is, you know, living their own lives. They don't want to be like, you know, burdened with one of their friends telling them about their health issues and what they're going through. So I kind of felt very alone at the time. And my parents, I left home, so my parents are not there for me to also confide in and get support from. They were doing their best over the phone and etc. But I think I ignored it. I ignored it for the most part because I was like, you know, I'm still young. You know, this thing is not going to defeat me. God is going to come through. He's coming just now. He's going to come tomorrow. You guys, you doctors, you guys don't know. My God, what he can do. So I sort of like put it to the side, and then instead of dealing with it, I sort of spiraled. I started to get, you know, involved in the wrong things and the wrong people because I was trying to just distract myself from the fact that I was told, Crystal, you are going to go blind eventually. There's nothing to stop glaucoma. There is no treatment.
What year was this?
That was 2008 when I was officially diagnosed in university time with glaucoma, so they told me because I'm black, it's more aggressive in black people because of the color of our eyes are darker, and also because I was so young, it'll have way more years to take its effect, basically, because glaucoma usually happens in people who are elderly, 60, 70, 80. It happens like way later in life, but because I had it since I was a teenager, the blindness will come much faster, they told me. So I was like, well, if that's going to happen, then let me enjoy my life, you know. That's why I'm saying I distracted myself with as much as I could, which in hindsight was the wrong thing, but you know, I don't think anyone can tell someone how to deal with something like that, because no one tells you in life, you know, you don't read it in books. Like, if you ever get a disease in life, here's the steps to take A, B, C. So it was just me as a young person on my own trying to figure it all out. And so
why do you say it was a wrong thing?
It was the wrong thing because I should have paid more attention. Sometimes I blame myself. There are days where I'm like, so maybe you could have saved yourself. Maybe if you paid attention to it when you were in high school, maybe somebody could have given you treatment or you know, you could have started on eye drops much earlier. So that's actually part of the reason why I fell into a massive depression at the time, because I was blaming myself. I was like, you did this, you could have done something. Crystal, this is your life, these are your eyes. You know, you should have been on top of things. So I feel like many of us in many situations blame ourselves for many things. But I came to learn and realize later through support and people like talking me through it that I couldn't have helped it. It's just the cards that I happen to be dealt in my life.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And Crystal, I must say, I love your free spirit. I love, you know, the kind of spirit that you have. But I've had the privilege to speak to other VIPs, you know, visually impaired persons. And one thing that I picked was like a certain lady who I interviewed recently was telling me, you know, you'd be like the way we are seated next to each other and probably there's some other person next to you and I want to talk to you, but I'm like, tell her, you know, tell her I need this, tell her, instead of speaking to you directly. In other words, what are some of the challenges that you've gone through, Crystal? Not now, let's start with then, when you started losing your sight.
So I was very active in university and school, generally in sports and other creative arts. So in university, in my first year, I was on the women's team, the basketball team for the women, but then throughout the end of first year, second and third, I had to sort of lessen that. And so that was one of the challenges that I had to face, sort of not doing the things that I love to do in university. So I felt as though I didn't get the full university experience because I had to deal with this thing on the side. What you're saying is totally true. People usually, even until today, many people, it's like I'm invisible to them. Just because I can't see, it's like I'm not there. Tell Crystal this, like, hey, tell Crystal I love her music, I enjoy her work, etc. And I'm like, hello.
I can hear.
Yeah, I'm literally right here in front of you. And then what I do nowadays, because to make people understand, is I go, oh, tell that person,
I know.
tell Grace that I said. I reply as well in the exact same form so that they can understand what it might feel like. Challenges have been losing friends. I started losing people in my life who felt that because things have changed, I'm not, you know, as fun, I don't go out as much, I can't do this or the other. Maybe they felt that I was a burden to them, you know, as in groups of people, you know, not just one or two, like groups of people. So that was pretty challenging. Made me feel like terrible. Even remembering it now, I feel like, yeah, it wasn't a good time. Challenges with being rejected in all types of spheres, in music, in jobs as well. I was rejected from all kinds of jobs, even though my CV was great. I had my degree, because I managed to finish university, thankfully, even though I had the eyesight problems. People would be like, oh, they'd tell me to come in for an interview because my CV was great, but when they saw me, they were like, oh, so how are you going to? And I said, don't worry about that. Just, you know, you just need to give me the support in small ways, and I'll be able to do what my CV says that I can do. Yeah, things like that. Just general discrimination as well. People telling me that I'm faking it. That how come you're looking straight at my face and you're telling me that you're blind and you're looking straight at me? And it's like, it's because I've been able to see in the other half of my life. I was seeing. So I'm able to sort of like gauge from where your voice is. I can sort of gauge where your eyes will be, etc. So that's the reason why. So having to defend myself and defend my loss of eyesight, which is really funny. I don't even know why I used to entertain it, but I felt at the time that I had to sort of stand up for myself. And then just challenges with being the only person in my family with this condition, in my, even not just my immediate family, but my extended family, and not having to explain to everyone at home, like, okay, this is what I now need, can you help me in this way? And also finding it out as I go along, you know, like I said, there's no book, there's no movie, there's no, that tells you, it gives you instructions. So it's me finding out for myself what I need and then trying to communicate that to my family and the friends that did stick around in the end. So,
how about you, Crystal? Did you at some point beat yourself? You know, I remember you saying, you know, you would say God will do it tomorrow. But when this tomorrow came and he was yet to do it, did you beat yourself? Did you ask yourself questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
And him
questions,
yeah,
yes. Fighting with God. God just knows me as a fighter. He's like, oh, it's Crystal again. She's here asking me questions. But yeah, there was one particular evening I remember after I finished university, I had to come back home because I went through this like year almost of depression, and I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to do anything. I was feeling awful for myself because I was like, I just came from university. I studied film and theater. I managed to finish even though I was going through the beginning stages of losing my eyesight. And then now I'm like, so what now, God? You gave me these talents in the creative arts. You gave me a voice to sing. You made me love film and theater and drawing and everything else in the creative space. But now you're telling me that I've got to do all of it without my sight. Like, how does that make sense, God? This is the kind of God, this is how I talk to God, like literally like this. And this one evening I was in my bed and it was raining at home, like really heavily. And I sat in my bed and I just cried and I cried and I cried. I think it was maybe 2-3 hours of just like crying. And then after I went to bed finally, I had this amazing dream, very vivid, I remember it till today, where it was like I was sitting in front of a massive white light and everything was warm around me, cross-legged in front of this white light, and this light was holding me. There were two hands holding my cheeks, like so. And then I remember the words, be still. And that was it in the dream. The dream lasted like almost the whole night, but it was just so short, but still so long. Woke up in the morning, I just felt like exhilarated. And I was like, be still, what does this mean? What does this mean? I ran downstairs to my mom and I was like, Mom, be still, what does this mean? Does it mean anything to you? And then she goes, let's go through the Bible. Let's quickly skim through.
Be still and know that I am God.
Correct. Yeah. And since then, that's been one of my life verses. Be still and know that I'm God. I felt like God was telling me, you know what, Crystal? I am going to take you places that you wouldn't even have thought that you could go. And you just have to be still and trust me. And so since then, another life verse that I use is by faith, not by sight. We walk by faith, not by sight.
That's true.
And I even called my white cane that I use to walk around faith.
Wow.
Because I walk by faith. Yeah.
So you now literally walk by faith.
Exactly. Because I told God, you know what, fine. I'll throw my hands up, you know, you take charge, but you have to promise me, God, that you are going to be the one to walk in front of me and lead me and guide me. Be the lamp to my path, to my feet, and the light to my path. Exactly. So there's many Bible. I could literally sit here for the next day and just be like, there's this verse, there's this verse that means, like, it's not just something that I read and go like, oh, that sounds nice, you know, praise God. Exactly, it's literally what I'm going through.
So why film and theater? That's what you studied, right,
yes,
Crystal?
Yeah.
Because, you know, film, it's visual art.
Correct.
It's what we see.
Correct.
Why that?
Because that's what I loved. I remember before looking for a course to study, I was with my cousin, one of my cousins, and I was asking him, so what do you do when you go to university? Like, what's this all about? Like, how can I choose what I want? And I'm only like 17, 18. What I want to study for the rest of my life? And he was like, well, what do you love doing? And I was like, I love watching TV and I love watching films. And he was like, well, there you go. So I literally looked for a course, TV with film, and then I did a joint honors with theater as well, because I loved the creative arts so much more than just television. And even when I was in uni, people would be like, how are you doing that? And I'd be like, I'm not sure how I'm doing it, to be honest, because my eyesight was not as bad as it is now then. So I would just like struggle through it, you know, have extra lights on the set, or on my sets that I was producing, etc. Just make sure that I have lots of people around me helping me with scripts, and literally reading like this my scripts and my scheduling and stuff like that. But I also feel that I wasn't making the decisions for myself. Clearly, I was being led to that, so that I can sit here today on the couch with you, Grace, and tell people that, you know, just because you don't have sight, it doesn't matter, because the vision is more important than the sight.
That's true. Yeah. Okay, we'll be getting more to the music bit, but I don't have an experience in you know, the music industry, but at least I know a little bit on directing. I've learned all that from, you know, being here. But how is it like in the field, because I imagine you have this kind of shot that you want in your mind. How is it like basically when you're in the field, when you're directing, when you're producing the music?
So I'll give an example of the music video that I did, my song called State of Love. That was in Mombasa. We shot it at Hala Park, and I was with the crew. So it was the crew was 3 people: sound, camera, and then there was an extra support, and then there was myself directing my own video. So they were like, okay, Crystal, sasa and I was like, don't worry, you guys, I got you. So basically, I would sit in the synopsis stage and tell them my ideas, and then we'd create like a mood board, and I would basically describe it to them as best as I could. One thing that this disability or this visual impairment has given me is the ability to communicate much better, because I can't rely on just saying, okay, look at this picture, or you know, whatever it is, look at this drawing. I have to use my language and my the sense of expression to really get the idea across. So in my mind, the picture is very clear, but bringing it to somebody else's mind without using any sort of aids or an aid to do that is what I think I've grown in a lot. So I just sit with them and be like, okay, in the lower third I want this, in the middle third I want this, in the top corner this is what it should look like. I want it to look like this. This is the feeling I want it to have. So that means, you know, the color grading. I talk about the feeling on the atmosphere so that they can understand what color grading they should do, etc. The sound, of course, for me is like much more heightened. So I have to get that perfect. If there's anything wrong with sound, I'm like, no, you guys, we have to go back. You can't, that can't, you know, slip. You can't slide with me. So I think as well they appreciated a lot the fact that they could take direction from somebody you can't see, but still it's a very clear direction.
And it comes out perfect.
Exactly. So it's a challenge, but I think it's helped me grow in many ways, for sure. There are many perks to being blind.
Okay, so we need to take a short break now, but so far I see your feedback. Godrich Abari here is saying, I'm watching the show. I love the story of Crystal. Let her continue with that career of singing. So many messages for you, Crystal. I'll be sampling them at the end of the show, but do continue sending them in. Grace Kuria KE, KTN is KE. You can also call in live when you come back, but for now, do stay with us. We're back after this short break.